At 40 years old, I had everything I could ask for. My name is Ethan Carter, and I'm the owner of a luxury restaurant in Austin, Texas, a place where every dish is carefully crafted, and every dining experience feels like an escape into a world of fine flavors. Business was booming, and I had a reputation for perfection in the culinary world. Every day was a rush, non-stop, intense, and rewarding. But despite all that success, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. I looked at my life from the outside, and it seemed like I was living the dream. I had a beautiful wife, Ava, a brilliant architect working at one of the top firms in the city. Together, we had 2 young children, Sophie, who was 7, and Lucas, 4. We lived in a charming house on the outskirts of the city. Our life appeared to be picture perfect, but there was something I couldn't quite put my finger on. Something wasn't right. Ava and I had been married for 10 years, but over the past couple of years, it felt like we were living parallel lives. We shared a home, a family, but there was a distance growing between us, an invisible wall that neither of us acknowledged, but we both felt it. Her eyes were always tired, her smile a little less genuine, her conversations a little less engaged. And me? I was too consumed by my work to even notice the signs. After all, I was providing for our family, and I thought that was enough. I was wrong. Most nights, I came home to find her already absorbed in her work or focused on the kids, and I didn't think much of it. I would join them for dinner, pretending everything was fine, but deep down, I could sense the tension. Ava was a strong, independent woman, but there were times when she seemed so distant, as if I was no longer the man she wanted beside her. Even the kids, Sophie with her infectious laugh and Lucas always full of energy, seemed like they were slipping away from me. The truth was, I was more present for my restaurant than for my own family. As much as I tried to make up for it with little gestures, I knew it wasn't enough. There was a disconnect, a quiet sadness I couldn't ignore. And maybe, just maybe, that's why I felt a deep, gnawing emptiness, despite everything I had accomplished. It was a Wednesday evening when I decided to change something, to do something special for Ava, to remind her how much she meant to me. We were approaching our 10th wedding anniversary, and I thought I could still surprise her, remind her of the love that had once sparked between us. I planned everything meticulously, a romantic dinner at home, just the 2 of us, away from the chaos of life and work. The house was quiet as I set up the dining room, the soft glow of candles flickering against the walls, the table set with Ava's favorite dishes. I had even bought a beautiful piece of jewelry, something she had mentioned wanting a few months ago. Tonight would be perfect, I told myself. It had to be. When Ava finally came downstairs, my heart skipped a beat. She was wearing her favorite sweater, her hair loosely tied back, but something was off. The usual light in her eyes wasn't there. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. It was the kind of smile you give when you're trying to convince yourself you're okay when you're really not. She sat down, and the tension between us hung heavy in the air. We ate in silence for a while, the clinking of silverware filling the quiet room. It was as if we were both waiting for something, but neither of us knew what. The food, which I had prepared with so much care, seemed to go unnoticed. The sparkle of the wine in our glasses seemed dull now. My thoughts drifted to the surprise I had planned, the gift I hoped would rekindle something between us. When the meal was nearing its end, I decided it was time. I pushed aside the plates and reached for the box containing the jewelry. Ava looked at me, and for a brief moment, I saw a flicker of something like hope. I handed her the gift, watching her fingers tremble as she unwrapped it. But instead of the excitement I had expected, she simply nodded. Her gaze shifted away from me, and I could see the hesitation in her eyes. The room felt colder, and I began to realize something was wrong, something I hadn't anticipated. "I need to tell you something," she said, her voice tight, strained. I blinked, unsure of what she meant. My heart started pounding in my chest. I'd seen her anxious before, but this was different. This wasn't the woman I knew, the woman who had once shared everything with me, the one who had laughed with me through the good times, cried with me during the tough ones. Ava took a deep breath and looked at me. "Ethan," she began, her words slow and deliberate, "there's one thing I've been thinking about for a while. And tonight, you said I could ask for anything. So, here it is. I want a night with Daniel. I froze. Daniel. My best friend. The man I had known for years. The man I trusted. The words echoed in my ears. A night with Daniel? I repeated, my voice almost a whisper. I thought I had heard her wrong. This couldn't be happening. I waited for her to laugh it off, to tell me she was joking, but she didn't. The look on her face told me everything I needed to know. This was real. This was happening. She looked at me, her eyes filled with a mixture of guilt and resolve. I've been feeling empty for a long time, Ethan. And Daniel makes me feel something. I need to know if what I feel for him is real. I was stunned, frozen in place. The world felt like it was spinning out of control. How could she say this to me? How could she ask for something so unimaginable? I'm sorry, she whispered, her voice shaking. But I need this. And just like that, everything I thought I knew about my marriage, about my life, came crashing down. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to react. The room felt suffocating. Ava and Daniel. My wife and my best friend. How had this happened? How had I missed the signs? I was lost. Lost in my own home, lost in the woman I thought I knew. I didn't speak. I couldn't. The weight of her words crushed me, and all I could do was sit there, staring at the woman I had shared my life with, the woman I thought I understood. I couldn't fathom what was happening, what she was asking for. My heart sank, and a chill settled deep within me. This was just the beginning. The silence between us stretched long and thick, and I couldn't break it. Ava's request had left me speechless, paralyzed. I sat at the table, my hands gripping the edge, as though somehow holding onto the last thread of reality. But everything around me felt unreal now, like I was watching someone else's life unfold in front of me, not my own. A night with Daniel? I repeated, almost as if I could make sense of the words by saying them again. It was too absurd, too surreal. I couldn't understand what was happening. Ava's face tightened, and I saw the tears well up in her eyes, though she fought to hold them back. I never wanted to hurt you, Ethan, she said quietly, almost apologetically. But I can't keep pretending. I felt alone for so long. And when I'm with Daniel, I don't feel that way. I don't feel empty. I didn't know what to say. The room seemed to close in on me, the air heavy and suffocating. My thoughts were jumbled, and my heart was pounding so hard in my chest I thought it might burst. I had worked so hard to build this life, this family, this perfect image of success. And now, in one moment, that image was falling apart. You want to be with Daniel? I asked, my voice shaky, barely above a whisper. Is that what this is? You've been seeing him like that? Ava's eyes darted to the floor, and she nodded once, a small, defeated movement. It's not what you think, she said quickly, her voice trembling now. It's not an affair, Ethan. It's just that I feel something for him that I haven't felt in a long time. I need to know if this is real. I need to understand if it's just a momentary thing, or if I really love him. The weight of her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I felt dizzy, disoriented. I wanted to scream, to lash out, but I couldn't find the strength. My mind kept replaying every moment I had spent with her, our wedding day, the birth of our children, all the years of memories I had clung to as proof that we were solid, that we were happy. But now it all seemed so fragile, so easily shattered. I looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't recognize the woman sitting across from me. The woman I had spent 10 years with, the woman I had promised to love and cherish, seemed so far away. How had I missed this? How had I missed her growing distant? How had I missed the signs? I don't know who you are anymore, I muttered, barely able to control the tears that welled up in my own eyes. My voice cracked with the weight of it all. I don't know who you've become. Ava shook her head as if trying to explain herself. It's not about you, Ethan. You're not a bad husband. You're a good man, and I love you. But I can't keep ignoring how I feel. I can't keep pretending that I'm okay when I'm not. I need this. For me. For us. There it was again. Her justification. Her need to explore something else, something with Daniel. I had spent years building my life around her, building our family, thinking that love was something that you worked at, that you nurtured. But now, it felt like the foundation had cracked, and all the work we had done was nothing more than a house of cards. The silence between us was unbearable. Every moment dragged on, my heart sinking deeper. The realization was like a storm raging inside of me. My thoughts were scattered, chaotic. I couldn't stay in that room. I couldn't stay with her. Not like this. Not with this betrayal hanging between us. I stood up abruptly, pushing my chair back so hard it scraped loudly against the floor. "I need to go outside," I said, more to myself than to her, as I walked away from the table and out the door, not looking back. I stepped into the cool night air, the darkness wrapping around me like a heavy blanket. The world felt far away, distant. I needed to clear my mind, to understand what had just happened. My hands were shaking, my breath coming in short, erratic gasps. I walked aimlessly, my thoughts spinning in circles, over and over again. Daniel. Ava. Everything was slipping through my fingers, and I couldn't hold on to anything. I didn't know how long I had been walking when I finally stopped, standing on the edge of the quiet street, staring up at the stars. Everything seemed so vast, so overwhelming. How had it come to this? How had my perfect life, the one I had worked so hard to build, turned into something I could barely recognize? My phone buzzed in my pocket, and I pulled it out, my heart skipping a beat when I saw it was Ava. I stared at the screen for a long moment, unable to bring myself to answer. What could she say that would make this okay? What could she possibly say to fix this? I ignored the call, letting the phone slip from my hand and fall to the grass. The darkness around me felt infinite, a vast emptiness that mirrored the hollow space I now felt inside. I couldn't do this anymore. I couldn't pretend that everything was fine, that I was fine. I had to face the truth, no matter how painful. Ava wasn't the woman I thought she was. And Daniel, he wasn't the friend I thought I knew. Everything I believed in was a lie. I turned back toward the house, my steps slow, heavy. I didn't know what to say when I walked back through that door. But I knew one thing for sure. This was only the beginning. I stood outside for what felt like an eternity, the weight of what Ava had said still crushing my chest. I was numb, yet the anger was slowly building up inside me, like a slow-burning fire that threatened to consume everything in its path. How could she ask for that? How could she look me in the eye and ask to be with Daniel? I didn't know what I was feeling anymore. Hurt, rage, confusion, but I knew one thing for certain. I wasn't going to let this slide. Ava's betrayal wasn't just a betrayal of our marriage. It was a betrayal of everything I had worked for, everything I had trusted. Daniel, my best friend. The man I had called family for years. The thought of him with her felt like a punch in the stomach. I finally walked back into the house, my footsteps heavy on the hardwood floor. Ava was still at the dining table, her hands clasped together in front of her, her eyes avoiding mine. She knew. She knew what was coming. I didn't say a word. I didn't have to. I walked over to where she had left her phone on the table, its screen still glowing from the last message she had sent. It was like a magnet, pulling me in, and before I even realized what I was doing, I picked it up. I didn't care about privacy anymore. I didn't care about anything except finding the truth. The first message I saw made my blood run cold. Daniel, can't wait to see you tonight. Just us. We'll finally have some time alone. I scrolled down, my fingers trembling as I read more. Photos. Texts. So many messages between them that I had never seen, hidden from me for God knows how long. Every word, every picture, felt like a dagger to my heart. Ava, I'm thinking about you. I miss you more than I should. Daniel, don't think about it too much. Just be with me tonight. Ava, I need this. I need to feel something real again. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. All those nights when I had been working late at the restaurant, thinking I was doing it all for her, for our family, she had been with him. All those times when I thought everything was fine, she had been hiding this from me. The thought of it, of them together, sickened me. I could feel my hands shaking, but I didn't care. I felt betrayed in the deepest way imaginable. She wasn't just asking for time with Daniel anymore. She had already crossed a line, and now it was clear. The relationship they had was more than just friendship. It was more than just a mistake. It was a betrayal that cut me to the core. I slammed the phone down on the table, the sound of it hitting the wood snapping Ava out of her trance. She looked up at me, her eyes wide, like she hadn't expected me to find out this way. But there was nothing left to hide now. The truth was out, raw and painful, in front of both of us. "Ethan, please," she started, but her voice broke, and I could see the guilt in her eyes. She knew there was no excuse for what had happened. "No, Ava," I snapped, my voice rising. "I don't want to hear it. How long? How long has this been going on? How long have you been seeing him behind my back?" I didn't want to hurt you," she said, her voice trembling, but the words fell flat in the heavy silence that surrounded us. "I never meant for it to get to this point, but I didn't know what else to do." "You didn't know what else to do?" I repeated, my voice shaking with disbelief. "You didn't think about talking to me? About telling me how you felt? No, instead you turned to Daniel, my best friend. You turned to him behind my back, and now this is all falling apart." Ava's face crumpled, and I saw the tears finally spill over. But it didn't matter. The damage was done. The trust, the foundation of everything we had built, had been destroyed. It felt like everything in my world had been turned upside down, like I was suffocating in the very air I had once breathed freely. "You're asking me for permission to be with him," I said, each word coming out slower than the last, the sting of it cutting deep. "You've already done it, Ava. This isn't about me giving you permission. You've made your choice." She stood up then, walking over to me, her hands reaching out, but I took a step back. I couldn't be near her. Not like this. "Please, Ethan," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I never meant to hurt you. I'm so sorry. But I can't take it back. I can't undo what's already been done." I wanted to scream at her, to tell her how much she had shattered me, how much this betrayal had broken everything we had built. But instead, I stood there in silence. The hurt was so deep that I couldn't put it into words. No apology could fix this. No words could undo the pain. Without saying another word, I turned around and left the room, heading straight for the door. Ava called out to me, but I didn't stop. I couldn't. I needed space. I needed to get away from her, from this house, from everything. I stepped outside into the night air again, my heart pounding in my chest. The cool breeze did nothing to calm the fire inside me. I needed to think, to clear my mind. But everything felt blurry. My thoughts, my emotions, they were all tangled together in a chaotic mess. And then it hit me. There was no going back. Ava had already made her decision. And now I had to make mine. I didn't know what was coming next, but I knew one thing. My life would never be the same again. I spent hours walking aimlessly that night, the cool air biting at my skin, but I barely felt it. My mind raced with everything that had happened. The betrayal, the broken trust, the wreckage of my marriage. Ava and Daniel. I couldn't stop seeing their faces together, the messages, the photos. It all felt like a cruel joke. A nightmare I couldn't wake up from. The anger that had been bubbling inside me began to cool, replaced by something even heavier, numbness. I didn't know how to feel anymore. When I finally returned to the house, it was past midnight. The lights were dim, casting long shadows across the hallway. Ava was sitting in the living room, her eyes red from crying, but I could barely look at her. There was nothing left to say. The damage had been done. She stood when she saw me, her hands wringing together nervously. "Ethan, I don't know what to say. I know I've destroyed everything." I didn't reply at first. I didn't know what to say either. Words felt hollow now, meaningless in the face of everything we had lost. I couldn't even bring myself to look her in the eye. The love I had once felt for her, the trust one had placed in her, had been shattered beyond repair. "I can't do this anymore," I finally said, my voice flat, devoid of emotion. "I can't pretend like everything is fine when it's not. I can't keep living in this lie, in this mess." Ava opened her mouth as if to argue, but I held up a hand to stop her. "No," I said, my voice firm this time. "This isn't something we can fix. You've already made your choice. You've already decided what's important to you." She took a step forward, her eyes pleading. Ethan, please. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for things to get this far. I never wanted to hurt you. I thought we could work through this, but I didn't know how to tell you. I closed my eyes for a moment, trying to suppress the pain that surged within me. You should have told me before it went this far, I said quietly. I would have listened. But you didn't. You kept it hidden, and now we're here. The silence between us was deafening. I knew what had to happen next, even though I didn't want it. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done. But I couldn't keep pretending. I couldn't stay in this broken relationship. I want a divorce, I said, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. But they were necessary. They were the truth. Ava collapsed onto the couch, tears streaming down her face. Please, Ethan. Please don't say that. We can fix this. I'll do anything. I'll prove to you that I love you. I'll prove that this wasn't a mistake. I shook my head, my heart breaking all over again. It's too late for that. You can't undo what's been done. I walked out of the living room without looking back. I couldn't stay in the same space with her. Not now. Not after everything. I needed distance. I needed to breathe. I needed to be alone. I went upstairs to our bedroom and packed a bag, feeling the weight of the decision settle over me like a heavy cloak. When I returned downstairs, I saw Ava sitting on the stairs, her face buried in her hands, sobbing uncontrollably. I wanted to comfort her, to tell her that everything would be okay. But I couldn't. I couldn't lie to her anymore. I'm leaving, I said softly, the words feeling final. I'll be in touch with the lawyers tomorrow. Ava didn't respond. She just cried, her shoulders shaking with grief. I didn't know what to feel anymore. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just empty. I walked out of the house, the door clicking shut behind me, and I drove away, not looking back. The next few months were a blur. I focused on the divorce proceedings, taking things one step at a time. It was messy, painful, and exhausting. Ava and I fought bitterly, both of us trying to hold on to what we once had, even though it was clear that it was gone. The court battles over the kids were the hardest. Sophie and Lucas, my beautiful children, were caught in the middle of something they didn't understand. I couldn't protect them from this, and that was the hardest part. But I couldn't let them live in a broken home. I had to fight for them. Eventually, after what felt like an eternity of legal battles and painful negotiations, I was granted full custody of the kids. I don't think I've ever been more relieved in my life. Ava had tried to fight it, but in the end, the courts saw the truth. She was a mother who had lost her way, who had made a series of choices that she couldn't undo. And now she had to face the consequences. Ava reached out a few times after that, trying to apologize, trying to explain. But it was too late. I couldn't go back. I couldn't undo the past. She had made her choices, and now I had to live with mine. Daniel's business, his gym, also took a massive hit after the scandal. Clients dropped him, his reputation was tarnished, and his once thriving business slowly began to unravel. I didn't feel any satisfaction from it. I didn't want revenge. But I couldn't ignore the irony. My two closest people, the ones I had trusted the most, had been the ones to destroy everything. I focused on rebuilding my life, starting with Sophie and Lucas. They were my anchor, the reason I kept going even when everything seemed impossible. I couldn't fix what had happened, but I could be the father they needed. I could be there for them. As for Ava, I wished her the best, even though I knew I would never forget what she had done. I didn't know where her journey would take her, but I knew mine was with my children. And that, for now, was enough.